Hi again everyone, Josh here with Northern Frogger. It's been a little while since I posted an update video, so today I just want to take you through the room, not really a full tour, but just kind of show you what's changed since last time. There's been a couple of changes with the aquariums, and I just got some new frogs yesterday, so I'll show you those guys. So starting over here with the little 8-gallon nano aquarium. Not much has changed in here. Ended up taking the penguin tetra out because he was getting pretty aggressive with those emerald eyes. But the autocinkless are doing pretty well still. All three of those survived. I've also now got a celestial pearl danio in here. And this guy, I'd actually thought he had died. He was in that fluval edge aquarium, so I had kind of almost shut that tank down. I hadn't been feeding it for a couple weeks and everything, and then I moved all the plants out of there. And I was draining it, and I noticed some movement in one of the little puddles in the bottom, and this guy was still in there. So I put him in this tank for now, and he seems to be doing pretty well. If you remember, the guppy tank I had before was a little 10-gallon. Those guppies ended up not making it. Not entirely sure why. They were the only fish from that day that didn't make it. But I think it was a combination of the water not being quite hard enough and the temperature not being quite high enough. So I've got another 3 females and a male in here now, and you may recognize this tank. This is actually the aquarium that the azurias were in previously. So I started this one back up as an aquarium. Let it run for a couple more weeks to make sure had all the water parameters and the heat stabilized and everything. And then most of these plants came out of that fluval edge when I was shutting that down. And they're starting to all grow pretty well now. And this female right there with the yellow tail just gave birth a couple days ago. So up in this breeder box here, I've got, I kind of lost count, but there's over 30 little Guppy Fry in there. And it's going to be a total mystery what they come out looking like, because she was already pregnant when I got her from the store, so, and she was in a female only tank, so who knows what male it came from. It could be pretty much anything. So these guys are doing pretty well so far. They're only 3 days old now, but they're all growing and eating and looking good. Eventually I would like to get this one to the point where the fry will just survive in there once I get the plants to grow in a little more. I don't think it's quite there yet, but eventually once all this moss and everything spreads out, the fry should just be able to hide down in the rocks and the plants and get away from the parents. And over here, the Tenopoma leopard tank hasn't changed a ton. I did get some substrate in here. It's just like play sand topped with Eco Complete. It's actually the same thing I did down with the guppy tank here. And all the rocks that are in both these tanks were just collected from outside. I did add a piece of driftwood in there, so this water is a little bit yellow still. Still releasing quite a few tannins. But the leopards seem to like hiding in and around there. But not really much has changed with them. See one kind of hanging out below the wood there. They are growing quite a bit, but this tank is pretty much the same. These guys are pretty much the same. This one's starting to grow in nicely. Female Xerius sitting there. The micro spots are still the same. This tank's starting to get pretty overgrown here. I've been putting it off because I actually want to get another 20-gallon long and basically do the same thing I did with the Xerius with this tank. Everything's pretty much the same through these tanks. This Chizuta tank's pretty much the same. All of these hasn't really been much progress other than the other build you saw me do. I moved this one down into this row and moved the Chizudas into that one. They were in this one, and actually as I was tearing it apart, I noticed down on the back wall there, I've actually got an egg sitting there, so I know that's not the best quality, but and it's still developing in there, so I'm going to try to just leave this vivarium alone until that hatches. Hopefully get a Chizuda tadpole out of there. And these guys, oh, there's the pair of them hiding behind that bromeliad there. The plant nursery tank is a bit of a disaster right now. Sold some plants out of here and pulled a few out for other tanks and stuff, so gonna have to do some work in here pretty soon. I'll probably make a video on that. I want to take the pups off of this bromeliad because they're really getting crowded out. Should have been done a while ago. But yeah, I want to be able to pull them out. And as well, like a lot of these bromeliads have pups on them that I need to pull off, so probably going to do a bit of a video just about plants here pretty soon as I work on that. All the froglets are pretty much the same. Oh, the other thing, I almost forgot, I moved the tadpoles out of here onto a rack in the utility room. Just because it's winter setting in, it gets a little bit cold in this basement. But the utility room stays fairly warm, so I've got them moved into there for the winter. So the biggest news in the frog room is that yesterday I actually traded a pair of powder blues for a pair of the Ranidomea vanzellini. So these are the new additions. Ranidomea vanzellini, the blue legs, yellow spots on their body. Hiding in here. So another change is that the spider ball python that was in this enclosure was sold last weekend. So she's moved out of there. The pinstripe ball python that was in this aquarium is now moved into this enclosure. Should be much better for him. And now that I've got this 55-gallon aquarium sitting empty, I got to figure out something to do with that. So if you guys have any ideas or suggestions, you could let me know. It is an aquarium, so it should hold water theoretically. So it could go to another fish tank. The other thing I've always really wanted were some Madagascar day geckos, but I'd like to get some of those. I think this could potentially make a pretty cool gecko enclosure. But yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts on that. What do you think I should do with this 55-gallon aquarium? And then the last thing to update you on is this aquarium here. It's a 10-gallon aquarium that actually sits on my nightstand in my bedroom. And all I've got in here right now is a group of 20 of these red cherry shrimp. Ever since I started back into the aquarium hobby a few months ago, I've really been wanting to get some of these. Never had shrimp before, or well, I've never had freshwater shrimp before. I've had a few different kinds of saltwater shrimp. So I figured I'd start up a colony of these. See if we can get some shrimps breeding. And this one is just play sand for a substrate with rocks that I collected from outside. And threw some plants and some moss in here. Some of them are not doing too great, but some of these shrimp would be considered pretty low grade cherry shrimp. That one doesn't have a lot of color on them. There are a couple in here that are pretty decent. There's one I was looking at that I think could almost be considered a fire red. It's got fully red legs and everything. And so this is going to be a cold water tank. There's no heater in here. I plan to leave it that way. See, the temperature right now is sitting right at about 70 degrees. And it doesn't fluctuate very much. It goes about like 69 to 70 usually. Which should be fine for these guys. And probably at some point, once I make sure these guys are established, I'll probably end up adding some white cloud and mountain minnows to this tank too, just because I like those guys, and they're one of the few species that will be able to tolerate that cold of water. Alright everyone, that's it for today. I just want to give you a quick update of the couple changes that I've made over the last couple weeks here. Stay tuned. I should have a couple more instructional videos coming up in the next week. So like and subscribe if you haven't already. Any questions, comments, or suggestions, leave them down below in the comments there. And as always, thanks a lot for watching. I will talk to you next time. Happy frogging.